Hey, I'm Emma. Welcome to Emma's Betrayal Stories now. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories aren't rushed. They're the kind you sit with. Today's story comes with an update and my own personal opinions throughout the story. Let me know in the comments if you agree or see it differently. Let's begin. After my family laughed at my business, I built an empire that made them take notice. My dad's laugh hit the table first, one of those sharp, involuntary bursts that makes the cutlery jump. Then my brothers followed, deeper and meaner, like he'd been waiting for permission. My mum did the polite version, the "oh honey" smile that's meant to soften the blow, but it still landed like a slap because her eyes flicked away from mine as she did it. My little pitch deck was open on my laptop between the salad bowl and the bread basket, and suddenly it looked ridiculous there, surrounded by gravy boats and family photos on the wall and the smell of roast chicken. I felt my ears go hot. My hands were still hovering over the trackpad, like if I scrolled to the next slide fast enough, reality would catch up. "So, you're going to what?" my brother Aaron said, wiping his mouth with his napkin like he was done with me. "Sell planners on Instagram?" "It's not planners," I said, and my voice came out thinner than it sounded in my head. I cleared my throat, forcing it steadier. "It's a workflow system for small service businesses. Bookings, invoicing, scheduling, customer follow-ups. Most of them are still using notebooks or 5 different apps. I've been building." Aaron leaned back in his chair, grinning like he'd just been handed a punchline. "So, you're making Google Calendar?" "It's not Google Calendar," I repeated, but my stomach was already dropping because I recognized the dynamic. This wasn't curiosity. This was entertainment. My dad shook his head, amused, and my Aunt Nina did a little snort laugh into her wine glass. Across the table, my sister Brooke raised her eyebrows at me like, "Yikes," and didn't say a word. The air felt too bright. I could feel the sweat in my palms slicking the underside of my laptop. "You have a degree," my dad said, still smiling. "A real one. You could get a stable job. Why are you doing this to yourself?" Something in me snapped, not the dramatic kind, more like a rubber band finally letting go. I pushed the laptop lid down, slowly, with 2 fingers. The click sounded louder than it should have. "I'm not doing anything to myself," I said, and I stood so fast my chair legs scraped the tiles. My heart was thumping hard enough to make my vision pulse at the edges. "I'm trying to build something." My mum's mouth opened, but I couldn't take the pity in her face one more second. I grabbed my bag, my keys, and as I walked past the hallway mirror, I caught my own reflection, chin lifted, eyes shiny, like I was pretending I wasn't about to cry in the car. It was a Thursday night in March when that dinner happened, and I remember it so clearly because it was the first time I realized my family didn't just doubt me, they enjoyed doubting me. I'm 27 now, but I was 23 then, fresh out of uni, working an admin job I hated because it paid rent and didn't ask me to dream. I'd been dating my boyfriend Liam for a year, and he'd watched me come home drained every day, peel off my work clothes like they were a costume, and sit on the couch building spreadsheets for fun because organizing chaos was the only thing that made my brain feel quiet. The business idea started the way most real ones do. I was helping a family friend who ran a cleaning service, and she kept missing bookings because clients would text her at random times and she'd scribble it on receipts and sticky notes. I built her a simple system, just a shared form, a database, automated reminders, and she cried in my kitchen because it made her feel like she could breathe. Then her friend asked if I could do it too. Then another. That's when I realized the problem wasn't niche. It was everywhere. So I started building a proper platform. Nights, weekends, lunch breaks. I watched tutorials until my eyes burned. I taught myself just enough code to make prototypes. I spent $12 on a domain name and felt like I'd bought a piece of the future. When I finally told my family, I expected skepticism. I didn't expect laughter. After that dinner, I stopped talking about it. Not as punishment, as protection. I went quiet in the family group chat. When my dad asked if I'd come to my senses, yet I said work was busy. When my mum tried to send me job listings, I thanked her and changed the subject. Liam was the only one I told the truth to, mostly because I couldn't hide it when he'd find me at 2 a.m. surrounded by notes, hair in a knot, whispering yes under my breath like I'd just solved a puzzle. He'd sit on the floor beside me and pass me water and say, "Okay, show me what you built." The first year was ugly. Not Instagram ugly, real ugly. Invoices paid late, a laptop that overheated and shut down when I hadn't saved, customer support emails from strangers who were annoyed I didn't reply fast enough, me staring at my bank app and doing math that made me feel sick. I kept my admin job for stability while taking on clients in the evenings. I spent Saturdays doing on-site setups, lugging my little bag of cables and a cheap tablet like I was a traveling repair person. I learned how to talk to business owners who didn't trust apps but trusted me when I stood in their shop and listened to how their day actually worked. Then the platform started getting referred without me chasing it. A landscaper posted about it in a local business group. A dog groomer DM'd me, then told 5 other groomers. Someone called it the thing that finally made me stop forgetting people, and I sat on my bed reading that message over and over until my throat hurt. By year 2, I quit the admin job. I was terrified, but I did it anyway. My boss said, "Are you sure?" Like she was watching me step onto thin ice. I nodded like I wasn't shaking. I walked out holding a cardboard box with my desk plant and a stapler, and I felt this wild, electric relief in my ribs. By year 3, I hired my first employee, Mara, a customer support legend who could calm down the angriest client with 3 sentences and a smile you could hear through email. When I told my family I'd hired someone, my dad said, "So you're playing boss now?" And my brother said, "Let me know when you're a real company." He laughed when he said it, like I was still that girl with a laptop on the dinner table. I didn't say anything. I just kept building. The moment it tipped into something bigger wasn't a viral post or a lucky break. It was a contract. A chain of fitness studios, 12 locations. Wanted a system to manage bookings, memberships, payments, follow-ups, cancellations, staff rosters. They'd been burned by big software that didn't understand how chaotic humans are. Their director, a woman named Priya, sat across from me in a cafe and asked questions like she actually respected my brain. When she said, "We want you," I didn't react right away because my body didn't believe her. I just nodded, took notes, and then went to the bathroom and cried silently into a paper towel because my hands were trembling so hard I couldn't unlock my phone. That contract paid for 2 more hires, then 4, then an office, tiny, with a stained carpet and a door that stuck, but it was mine. We painted one wall a deep green just to feel like we were making choices, not just surviving. I bought a secondhand couch for the corner and a coffee machine that sounded like it was dying every time you used it. It was perfect. That's when my family started paying attention, not because they'd suddenly respected me, but because it became harder to keep pretending I was a joke. It started small. My Aunt Nina asked at a birthday lunch, "So, how's your little app thing?" And there was this new tone in her voice, curiosity with a side of calculation. My mom started asking questions that sounded like interest but still carried doubt, like, "Are you paying taxes on that?" My dad, who hadn't asked about my work in years, suddenly wanted to know how much you're making, like he was checking whether it was finally worth acknowledging. Then my brother Aaron did something that made my stomach drop in a familiar way. He told people he helped me with the idea. I found out because a cousin messaged me after a family barbecue. "Did Aaron really co-found your company?" she wrote. "He was telling Uncle Pete he's basically the reason it took off." I stared at the message until my eyes blurred. I could practically hear Aaron's voice in my head, casual and confident, slipping himself into my story like he belonged there. Liam found me in the kitchen holding my phone like it was something sharp. "What happened?" he asked. "Aaron's telling people he co-founded my company," I said, and my voice sounded flat because if I let it shake, I'd lose control completely. Liam's jaw tightened. "Did he?" "No," I said. He laughed at me. He said I was making Google Calendar. Liam reached for my hand. My fingers were cold. "Then you don't let him rewrite it." A week later, my mom called me and said, "Aaron's been having a hard time at work." She sounded careful, like she was setting up a request. He might need some support. What kind of support? I asked, even though I already knew. She hesitated. Well, you're doing well now. Maybe you could bring him on? Just until he finds his feet. Family helps family. I actually felt my face go numb. I looked around my office, Mara at her desk, focused, headphones on, my team's laughter floating from the tiny kitchen, and it hit me how fragile this all still was. How much of it was built on trust and culture, and me choosing the right people. Mom, I said slowly, Aaron doesn't respect what I do. He never has. He wants the title, not the work. She made a small, offended sound. That's not fair. It is, I replied. He laughed at me. He tells people he co-founded it. He wants to use my company to feel important. My mom's voice sharpened. So, you're just going to abandon your brother? The word abandon was so dramatic it almost made me laugh, but instead I felt this tight, quiet anger settle in. I'm not abandoning him, I said. I'm setting a boundary. She went cold. You've changed. That sentence stayed with me for days. Not because it hurt, but because it revealed something. To her, my growth looked like betrayal. A month later, my dad invited me to lunch. Just me and him, which never happened unless he wanted something. We met at a pub near his work, and he spent 15 minutes talking about football and traffic before he finally said, "So, your mom tells me you're doing very well." I watched him pick at his chips. "We're doing okay," I said. He nodded, like he was deciding whether to grant me a compliment. "How many employees now?" 11, I said. His eyebrows rose. 11. Huh. He cleared his throat. "Well, I'm proud of you." The words sounded unfamiliar in his mouth, like he was reading them off a cue card. Then he leaned forward. "Listen, I've been thinking. We should keep things in the family. You've built something solid. Maybe it's time you gave back a bit. Help your mom and me with some renovations. Nothing crazy. Just a loan." A loan. The word sat between us like a bill. I felt heat rise in my chest. "You laughed at me," I said quietly. My dad blinked. "What?" "At dinner," I said. "When I showed you the idea, you laughed." His face tightened. "Oh, come on. That was years ago." "It was the moment I realized you weren't in my corner," I replied. My hands were steady on the table, but I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. "Now you want a loan." He frowned, irritation creeping in. "You're holding a grudge." "I'm holding a memory," I said. "There's a difference." He pushed back in his chair, annoyed. "So, that's it? You're going to get rich and forget your family?" Rich. Like I was already some cartoon villain with a yacht. I paid for my lunch, stood up, and walked out before I said something that would scorch the relationship beyond repair. My legs felt weird, like I was walking on a moving surface. I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel until my breathing slowed. That weekend, my family held a big gathering, one of those things my mom loves because it makes her feel like everything is normal. I almost didn't go. Liam said I didn't have to. But I went anyway, partly because I wanted to prove to myself I wasn't scared of them, and partly because I didn't want Aaron controlling the narrative unchallenged. Halfway through the party, I heard Aaron talking loudly on the patio. "Yeah, she's doing well," he was saying, beer in hand, smiling. "I gave her the idea ages ago. Told her people needed something simple." I stepped outside before I could overthink it. The air smelled like barbecue smoke and sunscreen. My heart was thudding. Aaron saw me and grinned. "Speak of the devil," he said. I looked at him, then at the small circle of relatives listening. "You didn't give me the idea," I said calmly. My voice surprised me, steady, not shaking. "You laughed at it. You said I was making Google Calendar." The group went quiet in that uncomfortable way families do when the mask slips. Aaron's smile faltered. "Wow," he said, laughing too loudly. "You're really sensitive."
"I'm factual," he replied.
"If you want to be part of something I built, you can start by respecting it. And you haven't." My Aunt Nina made a little noise like she was shocked I'd spoken out loud. My mom's eyes darted between us, panicked, like she was watching a vase wobble on a shelf. Aaron's face tightened, and he leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You're going to embarrass me in front of everyone?" "You embarrassed me for years," I said softly. "You just didn't call it embarrassment because you were laughing." He stared at me for a second, then scoffed and walked away, muttering something about me being full of myself. And that should have been the end of it. A boundary drawn. A truth spoken. But it wasn't. Because 2 weeks later, one of my employees forwarded me an email. It was from Aaron. To my company. He'd emailed our general inquiries address with a subject line. Partnership opportunity. He'd attached a document labeled Founder Compensation Proposal. He was asking for equity. I'm going to be blunt. Aaron isn't just insecure, he's opportunistic. The kind of person who laughs at you when you're building, and then shows up when it looks profitable with his hand out like he was there all along. That "I co-founded it" lie is classic image management. He wants the glow without the burns. And the fact he emailed your actual business with a founder compensation proposal is so bold it borders on delusional. That's not a misunderstanding. That's an attempted rewrite of history in PDF form. Your dad isn't much better. He doesn't respect your work until it can benefit him, and then he calls you rich, like you're morally obligated to hand over chunks of what you earned just because you share DNA. Your mom is the soft enabler, which is still enabling. She uses guilt as a tool because she thinks keeping the family together matters more than keeping you safe. And your Aunt Nina? She's not shocked by conflict. She's shocked you finally stopped being the easy one. Liam and Mara are the real ones here. People who see you as a person, not a resource. The healthiest thing you've done is stop explaining yourself. Boundaries aren't a debate club. If you keep treating sabotage and entitlement like it's just family drama, you'll end up financing the same people who mocked you. And they'll still call you selfish afterward. Update. I didn't respond to Aaron's email right away because I needed to keep my hands from shaking long enough to type something that wouldn't haunt me. I sat in my office after everyone left, lights dim, the coffee machine making its sad little gurgling noises, and I read the attachment 3 times just to confirm it was real. It was written in his voice. Confident, sloppy, full of phrases like value contribution and strategic direction, like he'd watched a few business podcasts and decided that counted as experience. He wanted 15% equity in recognition of early-stage ideation and ongoing advisory support. Ongoing advisory support. He hadn't even asked how my company worked. Mara walked back in because she'd forgotten her water bottle and found me staring at my screen. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, setting her bag down. I turned my laptop toward her. She read the first paragraph and then said, very softly, "Oh wow." "I know," I said. My voice came out tired. It's like he's role-playing as my co-founder. Mara's face hardened in a way I rarely saw. "Do not let him into this company," she said immediately. "Not as staff. Not as anything." "I won't," I said, but the truth was I was scared. Not of him taking over, but of the chaos he could create if he decided to punish me for saying no. Liam came over that night with groceries and a look on his face like he'd already decided we were solving this. He listened while I read parts of the email out loud, and when I finished, he sat back and exhaled through his nose. "Okay," he said. "We handle this like a business problem." He was right. The mistake I'd been making was treating my family like they were just emotionally messy. They weren't. They were strategically messy. They knew exactly which buttons to press because they installed them. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not because I thought Aaron could actually claim equity, but because I wanted to know my options if he escalated. The lawyer, her name was Celeste, and she had the calm voice of someone who has heard every version of entitlement, asked me a lot of questions. Did Aaron ever sign anything? Did he ever invest money? Did he ever do work? Did I have records of my development timeline? I told her no, yes. I had years of emails, early prototypes, client invoices, contracts, timestamps, even messages to Liam from 2 a.m. saying, "I fixed the scheduling bug." Celeste said, "Good.
Keep everything.
And don't engage emotionally." She drafted a short response for me that was painfully professional. Aaron was not a founder, had no equity, and any further claims would be considered harassment. It also included a line instructing him to stop contacting my business channels and direct any personal communication to me privately, not through staff. It felt cold, but it also felt like putting on armor. When Aaron received it, he didn't respond like a normal person. He went to my parents. My mom called me, frantic. "Why did you send your brother a legal letter?" she cried. "It wasn't a legal letter," I said, sitting at my desk with my jaw clenched. "It was a boundary." "He's devastated," she said. "He said you humiliated him." "He tried to claim 15% of my company," I replied. Mom read that sentence slowly. My dad grabbed the phone from her, and his voice came in loud and angry. "How dare you involve lawyers against your own brother?" "I didn't sue him," I said, keeping my voice even with effort. "I told him to stop contacting my employees and stop pretending he founded my company." My dad scoffed. "You think you're better than everyone now." There it was again. That familiar accusation. Like success automatically equals arrogance in their eyes, because the alternative is admitting they were wrong. Aaron started posting vague stuff online. Not naming me, but close enough that people who knew us would connect the dots. Things like, "Crazy how family forgets who supported them," and "Some people get money and lose their souls." I didn't respond. I blocked him. It felt juvenile, but it also felt like finally closing a door he'd been slamming for years. Then he tried something worse. One Monday morning, our receptionist, we just hired one, Jess, came to my office looking pale. "There's a man at the front asking for you," she said. "He says he's a founder." My stomach dropped so hard I felt it in my knees. "Is it Aaron?" Jess nodded. "He won't leave." I walked to the front with Mara beside me. Aaron was standing there like he belonged, wearing a button-down shirt like he was going to a meeting. He smiled when he saw me, like this was all friendly. "Hey," he said loudly. "I figured we could talk in person like adults." My hands were cold. My mouth tasted metallic. "You can't come here," I said quietly. He lifted his eyebrows. "It's my company too." Mara stepped forward, voice calm but firm. "It's not. You need to leave." Aaron's smile tightened.
Wow.
"You hired a guard dog." I felt something snap again, but this time it wasn't panic. It was clarity. "Aaron," I said, louder. "Leave now or I'm calling security." His face flushed. He looked around at my staff, who were pretending not to watch but absolutely watching. He wanted an audience. He just didn't want it to make him look small. "You're going to regret this," he hissed under his breath, then turned and walked out with stiff shoulders like he'd been wronged. After he left, I went back to my office and closed the door and stood there for a full minute, breathing hard. Liam texted me, "How are you?" I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered. I didn't know how to explain that I felt like I'd been chased, not physically, but emotionally, like my family was trying to corner me into giving them a piece of my life, so they didn't have to face their own choices. Celeste advised me to document everything. We installed a simple security protocol at the office. No drop-ins without appointments, no personal visitors unless cleared. I felt ridiculous doing it. Then I remembered the PDF labeled Founder Compensation Proposal and didn't feel ridiculous anymore. The weirdest part was my mom's silence afterward. She stopped calling for a while. She stopped asking how I was. When she did finally message, it was a photo of a family dinner I wasn't at. The caption was, "Sad you couldn't come. Aaron misses you." Not, "I miss you." Not, "Are you okay?" Just
Pressure.
I didn't respond. I sat with the sadness instead of trying to fix it. It hurt in a dull, constant way, like a bruise you keep bumping without realizing. A few weeks later, something happened that cracked the whole illusion open. My dad called me unexpectedly and said, "We need to talk." I met him at a cafe near my office. He looked older than I remembered, lines deeper, shoulders heavier. He didn't do small talk this time. He just said, "Aaron's in trouble." "What kind of trouble?" I asked carefully. Dad rubbed his forehead.
Debt.
"Loans. Bad ones." The pieces clicked into place, so fast it made me nauseous. The sudden interest. The entitlement. The urgency. I stared at my dad and felt a cold anger settle. So this is why, I said.
He doesn't want a job.
He wants equity because he thinks he can sell it or leverage it. My dad's jaw tightened. Don't talk about your brother like that. Then tell me I'm wrong, I said. He didn't. He just stared at his coffee like it might give him an answer. I realized then that my family wasn't asking me to help because they believed in me. They were asking because they needed me. And the thing about being the reliable one is people only notice your strength when they want to lean on it. I paid for my dad's coffee. I stood up. I love you, I said quietly because I did, in some stubborn way. But I'm not rescuing Aaron. Not like this. My dad looked up, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in his face. Not anger, not pride.
Fear.
He's your brother, he said. And I'm your daughter, I replied. And you laughed at me. I left him there, and my hands didn't shake this time. After update, continuing the story to the end. Aaron didn't stop after the office incident. He just changed tactics. He started calling extended family. My Aunt Nina texted me one afternoon. Your parents are heartbroken. This is tearing the family apart. Please be the bigger person. I stared at the message until my eyes felt gritty. Be the bigger person has always been code for accept what they're doing so we don't have to be uncomfortable. I replied, I am being the bigger person. I'm protecting what I built. Nina didn't respond. The silence felt like punishment, which was exactly how it was meant to feel. Then my mom showed up at my apartment. I opened the door, and she stepped inside like she'd been invited, carrying a container of food like she was trying to skip the conflict and go straight to normal. She set it on the counter, looked around my kitchen, and her eyes filled with tears. I don't recognize you, she said. I felt something tighten in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. You do recognize me, I said. I'm just not folding anymore. Her eyebrows pulled together. Folding. Making myself smaller so Aaron feels bigger, I said. She flinched. He's struggling, she whispered. He's scared. So am I said. I was scared for years. I just didn't get to use it as an excuse. She sat at my table and cried quietly, and for a moment I almost broke, almost reached across and promised to fix everything, because I've been trained to soothe her sadness like it's my job. But then I remembered my employees watching Aaron claim he was a founder. I remembered my dad calling my boundaries disrespect. I remembered my mom's text. Aaron misses you. I sat across from her and said, I will not give Aaron money. I will not give him equity. I will not hire him. And I will not be guilt into it. My mom wiped her face. So, what? You're cutting us off. I'm inviting you into a healthier relationship, I said. If you want one. She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. The next week, Aaron tried one final move. He emailed one of my investors. I found out because Priya, the director from the fitness chain who had since become a mentor and friend, called me. Maya, she said, voice tight. Did you know someone named Aaron is telling people he owns part of your company? I felt my whole body go cold again, but this time it came with fury so clean it almost felt like relief. Yes, I said. He's my brother. He's lying. Priya was quiet for a second. Then she said, handle it. Today. I did. Celeste drafted a cease and desist. Not dramatic, not threatening violence, just firm. Stop making false claims, stop contacting business partners, stop representing himself as affiliated, or we pursue legal action. We sent it. We also sent a note to our key partners explaining that an estranged family member was making false statements and any inquiries should be directed to me. Aaron called me after he got it. He didn't start with anger. He started with charm, like he thought he could talk his way back into control. You're really going to do this? He said softly. Over family? Over lies, I replied. His voice sharpened. You think you're some corporate queen now. I think you're trying to steal, I said. And I'm done pretending it's anything else. He went quiet. Then, very low, he said, You know Mom and Dad are going to choose me. The threat hung there. I felt my throat tighten, but my voice stayed steady.
They already did, I said.
That's why we're here. I hung up before he could reply, because I didn't want the last word to be something he could twist. A month later, my company won a regional business award. Nothing global, nothing celebrity level, but meaningful. The kind of award that puts your name in front of the local press and makes new clients take you seriously. We held a small celebration in the office. Pizza, cheap champagne, laughter. Mara hugged me so hard I almost fell over. Jess printed out the article and taped it to the wall. That night, Liam and I went out for dinner. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You did it," he said. And I realized something quietly, without fireworks. I'd built something real. Not just the software. The boundaries. The spine. My mom texted me the next day. Just 3 words. "I'm proud of you." No request.
No guilt. No Aaron.
I stared at it for a long time. It didn't fix the past. It didn't undo the laughter at that dinner table. But it was the first time she'd spoken to me like I was her daughter, not her family's emergency fund. I replied, "Thank you. We're not magically healed. Aaron and I haven't spoken since the cease and desist. My dad is distant, stubborn, still uncomfortable with the fact that I won't bend. But I'm no longer negotiating my worth at every family gathering. I show up when I want to. I leave when I need to. I don't bring my business into their hands like an offering. I keep it where it belongs, with the people who respected it enough to help me grow it. And every time I unlock my office door and hear my team laughing behind the wall, I remember that Thursday night in March, the roast chicken smell, the cutlery jumping from my dad's laugh. Then I remember the click of my laptop closing, and how good it felt to walk out. Aaron is the kind of person who confuses proximity with ownership. He was close enough to your life to witness your early struggle, so in his mind, he deserves credit for it, like watching someone build a house entitles you to move into the spare room. The co-founder lie isn't just ego, it's a strategy. It makes him look competent to other people while pressuring you to play along so you don't embarrass him. And that PDF asking for equity? That's not bold confidence. That's an attempted heist wearing business casual. He didn't just want help. He wanted a chunk of your identity in a form he could monetize. Your dad has the emotional range of a locked filing cabinet. He respects stability more than courage, and when you chose courage, he labeled it irresponsibility because it scared him. The moment he came sniffing around with the loan request, it proved something ugly. He doesn't believe in you until he can benefit from you, and then he calls it giving back so you feel morally cornered. That isn't fatherly pride. It's entitlement dressed up as tradition. Your mom is the most complicated kind of wrong because she's not cruel, she's conflict avoidant. She wants the family to feel smooth and intact, so she pressures the person who will bend, not the person who is breaking things. That "you've changed" line is basically her saying, "Your boundaries make my denial harder." But her last message, "I'm proud of you," is the first sign she might be learning that love isn't peacekeeping at your expense. Aunt Nina and the extended family are just background noise with opinions. Be the bigger person is a lazy slogan people use when they don't want to confront the real villain because it's inconvenient. Liam and Mara are the real foundation here. Liam didn't just cheerlead. He helped you treat your life like it mattered. Mara saw the threat clearly because she's invested in the work, not the family politics. Those are the people you build empires with, the ones who show up quietly, consistently, and don't ask you to shrink so they can feel tall. And you didn't just build a business. You built a spine in a family that benefited from you being bendable. That's why they noticed. Because success is loud, but boundaries are louder to people who are counting on your silence.